Hey everybody, Dr. Max here. As promised, this is my first Facebook Live as it relates. I don't know how many of you guys are going to come on here, but if you are watching, are watching. Like I had said, I was going to do a series of Facebook Live events that I'll save and broadcast later on my YouTube channel, both on Regen Meds, and okay, I'm back. Sorry, I had to deal with some issues with connectivity. Anyways, so DNS is a topic that is near and dear to my heart because one of the things that I learned right away when I was in school. Now, for those of you who don't know what it is, DNS stands for Dynamic Neuromuscular Stabilization. Now, Dynamic Neuromuscular Stabilization is a really fancy way of saying that we want to help people to create a system, just create within themselves a way to move effectively, move properly, move the way that they were always intended to. A lot of times it gets bastardized as being a moving or baby crawling when it's a lot more than that. Yes, there is developmental positions that are the core foundation of dynamic neuromuscular stabilization. But more importantly, what they're responsible for, or what it's responsible for, is helping you to, hold on, I'm having some issues there. It helps to retrain the way that you were intended to move. And if we put patients in that specific developmental position, then that will help them to be able to move without pain. A common example is somebody with shoulder injury. They hurt it, we'll just throw out an arbitrary example, falling down and catching themselves on a table. Then they get it treated, they go to chiropractor works on their neck, helps with the immediate trauma response, put some ice on it, does a little bit of laser, stuff that we would do here. If it's really bad, you can use PRP or you'd sling it up if it got dislocated. But then afterwards, it just doesn't move the way that you had always wanted it to. And you go do your physical therapy and they have you work on rehabbing the shoulder and it just feels kind of okay, but it's not ever the same as it was before. That's where DNS can help, because maybe the reason why your shoulder's off is because it was compensating for your hip not moving correctly. Maybe the reason why your shoulder's off is because when you injured it and you learned how to move the first time, it wasn't properly centrated, which is a fancy way of saying the shoulder joint is directly in the middle and all of the forces acting on the shoulder joint are equal. Maybe it was a situation where you had or didn't spend enough time on your tummy holding yourself upright and you weren't using shoulder blades as effectively as you should. Any one of those things is something that I can help with, and people who practice DNS can help with. Somebody with a shoulder problem or a hip problem, knee problem that just isn't going away. So now let's dive into a little bit more of some of the stuff that I prepared a bit. So if you don't mind, I'm going to be looking at some off camera here a little bit here. So first, let's break it down. DNS stands for Dynamic Neuromuscular Stabilization. It's a mouthful, but in plain English, it is a method of rehab and performance training that's based on how babies develop movement. You see, when we're born, we have a certain onboarded program that everybody knows how to use, but still has to learn it, meaning that DNS is stimulus driven. Now, what I mean by that is you rarely have it where your kid will spontaneously go ahead and stand up. That happens sometimes, but it doesn't happen to the rest of us, or will spontaneously roll over. They typically will roll over or stand up because they want to, A, get whatever they're looking at, and they move their body in a way to try to get there. A lot of times, I mean, I know I'm a new dad, but a lot of times you'll see that they fail a lot and over and over and over and over and over again. So they work on, babies work on learning how to move so that way then they can execute something with the maximum amount of result with the minimum amount of effort. Why is that important in rehab? I'm glad you guys are asking. The reason why that's super important in rehab is because that's how the brain is wired. And the brain is wired to do the most it can for the least amount of energy expenditure. So that's that's why DNS becomes a therapy system that you can use effectively for life. So a DNS therapist or chiropractor, somebody who utilizes DNS therapy, is going to be somebody who wants to help you to basically get back to the way that you had moved before, or make corrections if you've never had them before. I can't tell you how many patients I have who clearly never crawled because of the fact that they have just poor balance and coordination. Then why it matters. So most people think that pain is just a flexibility or strength problem. In most cases, it's not. Most cases, it's a control problem. Now, what do I mean by that? Because you'd say to yourself, rightly, well, Dr. Max, I go to move my shoulder and I can't lift it up high enough. Or, Dr. Max, I'd love to go for walks, but my hamstrings tighten up whenever I'm walking. So how can you tell me it's not a strength or flexibility problem? And that's because at the root of strength and flexibility is the ability for you to effectively control a specific movement. If you can't control the movement, well, then you're either going to be tight or weak or both. An example that I have is I have a patient who has a really tough time with being able to do any lifting of his arm up over his head. What we've been working on him with is to be able to have good scapular stability, because this particular individual also can't move his shoulder blades around to save his life, because the muscles around his shoulder blades have become super tight, which makes it really hard for him to be able to move them, as a mechanism of the fact that his brain doesn't perceive that he has any effective control. Now, through going through the developmental positions, you can work to correct that, because through life, we figured out a certain way to be able to move through space. And then we go ahead and have injuries happen, and then that breaks that whole fragile house of cards. Our brain doesn't know what to do with it. So then it needs to be shown how to effectively move through space, and then thereby giving your brain this feeling of better control. With better control comes more relaxed muscles. With more relaxed muscles comes stronger muscles, because they're not focused on holding a joint in position all the time. More relaxed muscles also lead it to that you are able to move better because you have better feedback, or that you're able to move better because you have better feedback, which causes the muscles around the joint to not need to tighten up in order for the brain to stop being afraid that a particular joint's going to dislocate. This is the kind of thing that is for everyone too. This isn't just for high performance athletes. This is for the mom who has hip pain after she stumbled off the curb and isn't able to move around and has tried almost everything else. This is for the desk worker with the forward head posture because they aren't engaging their core effectively, which causes them to round forward like this. This is for the grandparent who's afraid of falling. I work with a ton of geriatric age patients, with my number one goal being that they don't fall and break a hip. I have a very personal story where I lost an uncle to this kind of a thing. So I make it my purpose to be able to help you guys to be able to balance effectively, move effectively, walk effectively, because that makes a better quality of life for everybody. DNS is essentially about restoring the brain and body connection. If your brain is feeling safe in this, exosuit, we want to call it, that it's guiding around, that we call our body, then it's not going to have muscles that are going to be super tight. It's not going to be acting on edge, feeling afraid that it's going to fall over all the time. It's going to be able to, it's just going to feel more comfortable. So now what I want to do for you guys is you're going to see me, a quick shuffle of the inside of my pocket as I go from a different room to the rehab room. And you're going to watch me do a live effective demonstration. That is something that I think all of you guys could take home with you tonight to be for either first timers or high performance athletes to be able to help with moving effectively through space or getting started with moving effectively through space. And then we'll pick up next week with some other exercise. And then plus you guys can let me know in the comments if this is useful or not, or if you want me to do something better. All right, give me one sec, guys. I should have some hold music on. Okay, so here I am. Well, right now I'm going to... Okay, so right now I'm going to quickly demonstrate the DNS 3-month position. The way that this one goes is it's... Making sure that you guys can even hear me. Yeah. I'm going to quickly demonstrate the DNS 3-month position here. The way this one goes is that you just go ahead and flatten your back. Let me turn this. There you go. That's easier. Go ahead and flatten your back like so. You want to form a effective canister right in through here. And then you just, hands at your side, legs up in the air. Just going like this and having yourself be nice, relaxed, and effective, and just holding your legs up 90-90. What you don't want to be doing with this is you don't want to be over-reliant on your hip flexors. This is about working on stabilizing your core effectively. Now, that's all I've got time for today. If you guys have any other questions, comments, concerns, please let me know. Again, Dr. Max Gatsky with Regen Med Pain Relief Clinics. If you like this, leave a like. If you have anything else you want me to talk about, well, just leave a comment, please. All right. Thank you very much.